Well, hello everybody, and welcome once again to the Adventures Travel Club television show. We find our way going on this beautiful ship from Denmark into Norway. And as we left our last episode, we saw that all of these children were being led around the ship by I guess a tour guide, wouldn't you call
I
it?
would imagine it's their teacher, Marv. That we used to do field trips like that. Well, never really a ferry boat in San Francisco or something like that, but not with such little tykes.
No, but I think these were from all the various families that were on the ship.
I thought that looked like school kids.
It did, though, didn't it? Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
And we have to remember it was during vacation time, too. Anyway, as we head up this long fjord going to Oslo, we see on either side of the ship some of this is kind of the southern eastern part of Norway that we can already see there. And there were still a lot of little ships out there that were really kind of fun. And like we mentioned in the last episode, there are probably a lot of people that have their own private ships. Or
ships.
Well, yeah,
boats,
boat, ship,
not
whatever
ships.
you want to call it, sailing boat, motor sailor,
okay.
whatever, and they can go around there. Of course, not all of the Scandinavians, but the Scandinavians were noted for being very good sailors.
Sure. I always had the idea, Marv, until I actually saw for myself that when you talk about a fjord, I thought of the stiff mountain. I thought all of it was going to be that way when we planned this trip.
Not until later, till we get over on the west coast.
My thought was that it was all that way, and there's much area there of water.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's right. And here, of course, some of our adventurers are having I think we had 2 or 3 snacks. Well,
that's par for the course.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
eat and go.
Eat and go. And that's what the people were doing here. If you envision a city suffused with sunlight in the summertime, golden in the autumn, and rainbow-colored with flowers in the spring, and ski sweaters in the winter, then you can envision Norway. And you can envision a city whose festivals celebrate everything from opera to Ibsen. Of course, Ibsen was Norwegian. Whose museums have Monet and Munch, where the public sculpture is powerful and provocative. You're going to see all of that, of course, when you visit Norway. And we'll see the Viking ships. And also, what surprised me is that the Kon-Tiki was there in a museum in Oslo.
Why would that surprise you?
Because I didn't think that that's where it originated from. I kept thinking Kon-Tiki. I kept thinking
the Pacific.
The South Pacific, something like that. But anyway, well, now we're getting a little bit closer, and of course you can see that there's more civilization here, a lot more houses, and
very calm water.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Very
yeah.
calm water.
In fact, what was so surprising on this trip to Scandinavia is that we found many days where we had 90-degree temperature.
Yeah, isn't that strange? Because when you think of going to Norway or any of the countries up in that area, you always think, well, I got to bring a warm sweater, and
or I'm going to buy one of those great Norwegian sweaters,
but
right?
Today it's hard to judge weather, Marv.
Yeah, it is very difficult to judge weather. It seems like the weather just is changing all over the world. I mean, you just take a look at what we have here in Central California and how it's changed. I talked to people that went to Europe early in the summer, and usually it's rainy and cold. They said it was hotter than could be.
Well, they blame everything on El Nino, and
right.
I often think, my goodness, and who was the one that directs El Nino? They never give any credit to the person that does all of this, that directs what's going to happen.
And and we need that. That's the whole thing. I think we forget about that, because if the weather was the same all the time, then various natural things that are supposed to take place probably wouldn't.
Well, I know since we had all the rain, El Nino this, El Nino that, it gets old stuff after a while, and I don't know, I think they blame a lot of things on it. That it's just a natural phenomena that God does this sometimes to give us a little bit of warning too. Hey, come on, you guys, better behave.
We see a lot of people here on the aft end of the ship, and some of them, of course, are wanting to get as much sun as they possibly can. And we've noticed this when we have visited Europe several times. Is that, and I keep going back to the time I remember the first time we were in Ireland. And those people were getting such a sunburn. Oh, my golly.
Yeah, but you did it, too. I know. I remember doing it and thinking, peeling off big sheets of skin off my back from being blistered. But it's dumb.
Well, now it's more dangerous,
My dermatologist tells me, hey, you should not have done that, Betty.
Right.
Too late.
we're looking closer now to Oslo, and Oslo is a very vibrant city. It's a cosmopolitan place, and it's a city where the land plunges headlong into the sea, and where the warm legacy of human decency fostered by Alfred Nobel is rekindled every year, because the Nobel Prize is of course given there. Anyway, that's really Oslo today, and we're going to be seeing more about it a little bit later on in the program. We see now that because we are getting closer in, they are changing the flags here on the ship, and I think if we look real closely up front, we can see the flag of Sweden, and then the other flag over there on the right-hand side was a flag of Norway. And you can see also that this is just one ferry boat that's plying these waters. There was another one right behind us. So there's just a lot of transportation going between these places.
Like you said, though, too, it's summertime, and undoubtedly they have maybe more what I want to say, more of a scheduling more boats to sail.
Probably because we could see that there were so many people that had their little trailers, and some had the canoes on top of their cars, and they were going, because this was the vacation time for the people in this area.
I'm amazed at all these rocks. This evidently the whole island there, or the area that we're facing, had to be mountainous at one time, didn't it? Because of the rock formations.
That's possible. I really don't know. I know that when we get further up into central and northern Norway, we're going to see, it looks like some of the, if you want to talk about rocks, some of the rocks that we see like up at Yosemite, Half Dome and that type of thing. So, but again, it amazed me as so many people this particular day out on the beach.
Well, perhaps that it was one of those rare days where it was really, really warm, and they want to take advantage of it. Huh?
Well, yeah, it was pretty much, I think, the time that we were there. We only ran into, I think, one day of a little bit of rain, and so that was very nice. So the weather was just perfect for us.
These houses are nicely situated. They're not really close together. People have land around them rather than being one on top of the other, and I think that's a great advantage.
And there is some typical Norwegian architecture that you're going to kind of see in between some of these trees. But again, in one of the other programs, we'll see more of that too. But we're getting a little closer now. This was kind of like a long voyage through the fjord. And if you look at a map, you'll see that Oslo is located kind of way up at the very end of the fjord, and so you're passing on the left and on the right of the ship a great landmass on either side.
And then it narrows.
And then it narrows. Right,
yes,
right. And one of the things that they told us to look for, and you know that you're going to be in Oslo, is the ski jump. Now, the ski jump, this was not the one, of course, at Lillehammer, where the last Olympics were held. I shouldn't say the last Olympics. No. That was in Japan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But the ski jump was for one of the Olympics, and that was interesting because we did go up and visit that too, and we also visited the one, of course, in Lillehammer as well. But see, Betty, there's more ships there that are going, and this was looking now. Remember, we're going north. Now this is looking on the west side, and there weren't as many homes over here on this side. More trees and some more of these small little islands, but not so many homes. The homes were getting the sun on the eastern side.
I'm very happy to see so many trees, Marv. I know that one thing they do stress is environmental care of the trees, of everything that's taking place, and there was literature all over the place as how to take care of the environment to keep it as beautiful, placid, growing as it is today.
Well, all through Northern Europe, I was impressed because a lot of people do recycling, and every place you go, you'll see 3 bins: one for the plastic, one for the paper, and one for the garbage.
And then for the one that says, "How have you been?"
How have you been? I got it.
Okay, thank you.
I got it. Thank you very much.
Well, that just I had to stick something in there.
But anyway, and I don't see us doing that here in this country. I mean, all the public areas had places like that. But there it is, Betty. See, there's the ski jump. There we are. And you can see that tower's up about, and there's some beautiful homes up in that area. As we drive up there in one of the other episodes, you'll see there's some gorgeous places up there, and I can see why, because they've got a
great view
of the fjord there that is just magnificent.
I love the contrast, Marv, when you see that ski jump, and then you see all of the terrain around it, and you think, how could they jump off that? You know, you have to visualize all of the snow that takes place in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
And when we get up there later on, you're going to see that it is a small area that the jumpers jump to, and they have to put on the brakes pretty fast because there's not that much room around there.
I did watch the events of the Olympics in Japan, and I think they are to be admired. Those people that, my gosh, they're just going off into space. It looks like.
Yeah, right into the air.
Yeah, real brave people.
As we approach Oslo now, on some of the islands, there are some beautiful museums. In fact, on one of the islands, there's a museum that will house the ship that they dug up, the Norwegian ship, and they were able to put that back together again, and then also the Kon-Tiki, and there's also a Viking village there as well. And we had the chance to visit some of that. But then you've got to, actually you do go under the water, because there are some tunnels there from some of these islands. And it was really, really quite interesting. Well, the ski jump is still there, and we're getting closer now to the place where our ferry boat is going to dock. And we dock right downtown, which is very nice.
I think that was great, because you can just get right off the boat, and there you are.
Mm-hmm. No, that is fun. Betty, what do you know about the trolls?
Oh, I remember the trolls, but that was from a long, long time ago, where he's under the bridge and he lures.
Well, I tell you what, I bought a book on trolls, and of course you can find the little troll figures, all over Norway. And I want to read one of not today, but I read one of those stories about the trolls.
About the troll.
Yeah.
But the trolls aren't exclusive to Norway. They have
you mean
trolls in other countries.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, these are Norwegian trolls
we're
going to talk about, right?
And they're not good guys. The ones that was yours a good troll?
There are good and bad trolls.
Okay, but you're going to read about a good one.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. All right, that's okay then.
But that was something that it really captured my imagination when I
never
saw
understood, Marv, where the name troll came from, but I should really know it. The only troll that I knew about was about the fishermen that throw out their fishing line, and isn't that called trolling?
No.
What's that called?
That's casting.
No, I know. No. After it's out there. After
it's out there and you're in the boat.
Then don't you troll?
Yeah, you do that if you've got a boat, sure. I think the troll. I think the name troll comes from an area. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Tyrolean? No, that would.
No, that would
That's
down in Switzerland and Germany. But I think there's an area in Norway that I think where it gets its name from. Anyway, I've got to look that up. That's a good question.
They
Where
all
did it
are.
get its name? What all?
Now,
good
why do you
questions?
sound surprised?
Well, I just am. Okay.
That's one man's opinion.
That's
huh?
right. That's right. We're talking about some of the cruises too, and one of the popular cruises that some people do take is the cruise on the coast of Norway. You can go all the way up almost to Russia, where Norway and Russia join, and a lot of people have done that on those the mail boats, I guess, that go up there, and you get to see a lot of villages, because in some of these areas way up there where it's so remote, I don't think you're going to find much in the way of roadways. You're going to find some little trails, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So the boat in Norway is really a very essential part of the transportation.
Are the boats in Norway sexist? Because you said the male boat. Now, does that mean only male can go on it, and only the females have to stay home?
No, I'm talking about the postal boat.
Oh.
Postal mail boat, okay?
All right. As if I didn't know. But we've had people that have done that mail trip,
Yeah. Oh, no, that's right. We have, yeah. I'd like to do that sometime, too. Well, we have arrived now in downtown Oslo, and as we say, the ship is just right up against the pier here, and there are some of the buses there. Our bus hasn't gotten off the ship yet. We saw it go in.
Thank God it wasn't a real busy time of the year.
Yeah.
When you have all of those buses and everybody trying to climb aboard.
We were very fortunate with that. Well, this is the gangplank now, and the gentleman's going to get that there so that at least the passengers can get out, and I'm sure at the same time they're unloading the front end of the boat, or the ship, if that's what we want to call it, with all of the buses and the cars and that type of thing too. So we finally made it onto the ground, and here our group is getting together. Of course, it was a big ship, so took us a little time to get off and get everybody together.
off,
Right, yeah. And we're going to have now a little cruise, not a cruise, but we're going to troll without a boat. No, we're going to have a little bit of a city tour. This is not the real city tour, but Carol says, as long as we're here and before we get to the hotel, what we should do is kind of give you the lay of the land, which
preliminary.
is really yes, exactly. And that is great because especially if when you have your free time and you want to go out and you want to go walking, well, it gives you sort of an idea of where you are and
where to go back to.
Exactly, exactly. And that's fun. I think our bus just pulled off the ship. There it is out there. And so Bjorn is going to come around and he'll pick us up and then we'll be off and ready. So let's get aboard and here we go.
Around the side of the fortress that protected Oslo, the Akershus fortress, you can see it here, part of it to the left. It today has the Resistance Museum, a fascinating museum. And of course you can see the old walls around the fortress, and this protected Oslo. As you can see, it's very well located, nestling here in the tip of the Oslo fjord. It's probably the largest capital in the world if you look at it size-wise, because Oslo covers a huge area up in the mountains and all these islands that we've been coming in. But well, there are not that many inhabitants here, about 1 million. If you look out to the right, you can see a white building up on the hill. That's a restaurant with a perfect view over the bay. And we'll do a very, very quick tour of the city, just a little, so that you get an idea of where the main things are. Our hotel is right down at this end of Oslo, down by the central station, just beyond that brown high-rise building actually. We're very, very close to the major walking street, or the major shopping street. It's walking street part of the way and then a regular street for most of the way. And the street is named after a king. His name was Karl Johan Bernadotte. He was a king that was chosen from, actually taken from the French army. He was a marshal in Napoleon's army, and he was chosen to be the king of Norway. They didn't have any king of their own. Well, actually, this was part of Sweden at the time, so the Norwegians didn't have too much to say about it. But the Swedes, the line of kings had stopped, so that they chose first a Danish prince. I'll be talking more about this later. This Danish prince fell off his horse and died, so they had to quickly find another prince consort who could eventually take over the throne, and they chose this French marshal. Of course, that had something to do with the war that was going on, and they needed a few good contacts. But he actually was the start of the Swedish royal family today, the dynasty of the Bernadottes. But he was also the king of Norway at that time. Norway and Sweden were in a union, and therefore they named the main street Karl Johans gata. There you get a good view of our ship lying out there to the left. The Saga. If you look to the right, you can see the big railway station. The old building is the yellow part, but they're building and extending it all the time. It's becoming a vast building here. But they've kept the old part, which I think is nice. Restored it. It didn't look so nice about, say, 15, 20 years ago. It was all coming apart. But they've shined it all up, and then they've built the new section with the new tracks coming in. We are going to be taking you on a city tour. We'll have a local guide to take us on a city tour tomorrow from 9 till approximately 12 o'clock. And then you have the afternoon free. But I can suggest that you go and visit the Bygdøy Island. That it's an island with museums on it. It's got the Viking Ship Museum, where they've found the Viking ships here in the bay, and it's a beautiful museum, and it shows the Viking ships. I mean, now we've followed the Vikings' houses, but we haven't seen a ship yet, and this is a good opportunity to do so. They also have the Kontiki Museum out there. Have you heard of Thor Heyerdahl? Yes, his museum is out there with the two rafts that he built, the Kontiki and the Ra 2. You can go to the National Gallery. The National Gallery is on a parallel street. I can point it out on the map at the hotel if you like. The National Gallery is free of charge, and it has not only the Munch paintings, but a very, very good collection of, especially turn of the century, Norwegian painters. Beautiful paintings from the countryside that we're going to be seeing. If you're interested in art, there is of course also a museum that is just for the paintings of Edvard Munch. He has his own museum. It's out by the Botanical Gardens, a little further away. The National Museum is right downtown here. Oslo is rapidly growing and getting new buildings all the time. Last time I was here they hadn't finished the building that you have here ahead of the bus on the right, but now it's finished. And you'll see constant restoration of old buildings and buildings that are being erected in the modern style. This has all happened since the Norwegians struck oil. First they went completely bananas. Everybody suddenly had lots and lots of money. Then they had a little dip into recession, but now they're back again. Here we see another side of the Akershus fortress. If you look up to the left, you can see the Norwegian flag, the royal flag, the split flag. It's only the royalty that is allowed to use that flag, or anybody connected to royalty. We can unfortunately not any longer continue straight ahead here, but if you take a look ahead as we turn around the corner, I want you to look out to the left, because you will see the old harbour area here. The ships come in with fresh shrimp every morning. Along the side beyond here is a whole new section where they're using the harbour for restaurants and shops and so on, and new docklands like in London, trying to get a little life back into the harbour. But again, you're going to be seeing all this again on the city tour, but I thought I'd just give you a little of an idea of the city, so if you want to go out and walk this evening, find somewhere to have dinner or just wander around, and you'll have your bearings.
Well, it is unique to find this beautiful.
And we're now coming up to the main street. It then has a little park area in the middle here, and the side beyond us is the Karl Johans gate. It goes from the central station and all the way through the city up to the Royal Palace. And you will in a minute to your right see the Parliament building, the Oslo Parliament. And of course, Karl Johans gate, being the main street in Oslo, is of course also chock-a-block with restaurants, outdoor restaurants, indoor restaurants, and shops. We're coming up in a minute to the old university building. The new university, of course, is situated just beyond the inner city, and of course it's much larger, but the old original university. Of course, the university still owns the buildings and uses it for certain lectures. If you look quickly to the left, you can see the red brick building of the town hall, and beyond this we have the National Theatre, the building to the left now is the National Theatre of Oslo, and here to the right, the university. One of the underground stations for the little trick. They have a small train that goes up into the mountains, up to the Holmenkollen ski jump, which is called the trick.
Mountain over here in the park. Very unusual.
It's a Norwegian.
And coming up on the left-hand side, you'll see a white building with a grey roof, rather ornate building. It used to be the headquarters of the police, and the Gestapo took over here during the Second World War. If you look at the yellow building coming up here on the right, that is the National Gallery. Nope, I'm sorry, it's a red brick building coming up here behind here. I want to call it that one, but it's the next one. This red brick building is the National Gallery with the paintings of Edvard Munch. The entrance is around on the side here. We'll see it in a minute. As we go across the road, you will see it up to the left. Johan will take us by it so you can see it. Here is the main entrance.
Is this far from the hotel?
This is not very far from the hotel. Our hotel is at the end of this main street, Karl Johansgatan, and you can see this is just a block down from the Karl Johansgatan. We're now driving parallel to that. We also have trams in Oslo. Not only do we have the little train, the trick, but we also have the trams. And it's very pleasant for me to see some of the old trams. They've got very nice new Norwegian ones, but the old ones they imported from Gothenburg.
Do you know the
Makes me
hours?
feel at home.
Carol, do you know the hours of the museum? What it's open?
The hours of the different museums are in that booklet that I gave you. There's a whole list of museums, there's a list of restaurants, a list of what is going on, and you'll find the opening hours and the prices of the museums. Now the National Gallery is free, but otherwise, is there any other museums that you're interested in? If you want to have typical Norwegian food, go to one of these Kaffe Stova. Ahead of the bus here to the left, you can see Kaffe Stova.
And we will join next time as we go back to have our city tour of Oslo. But right now it's time for us to say goodbye. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.